Good morning, I'm Will Reeve.
And I'm Janae Norman. Here are the top 5 things to know this Tuesday. Number 1, President Trump's state visit to the UK.
He's meeting today with outgoing Prime Minister Theresa May after basking in the company of British royalty on his state visit to the UK, including an elegant state dinner hosted by the Queen.
Today, he's expected to face larger protests across London. He's also expected to get some fierce pushback from British officials when it comes to trade policy with China and the Iran nuclear deal.
Number 2, the House has approved a $19 billion disaster relief package.
That money will help Puerto Rico and other areas of the U.S. hit by hurricanes, floods, and wildfires. President Trump praised the passage of the bill, even though it did not include money he wanted for border security. He tweeted, "Great, now we'll get it done in the Senate."
In response, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said, quote, "President Trump, you're clearly confused. The Senate passed the bill 2 weeks ago. Hopefully, after blocking it for so long, you're not too confused to sign it."
Number 3 now, the historic flooding in the heartland.
The state of Arkansas is losing an estimated $20 million per day because of the flooding, and they're bracing for even more rain. Vice President Pence will tour the damage in neighboring Oklahoma today.
The flooded Missouri River forced the closure of these highways in Iowa. More levee failures are possible, and farmers are struggling. The planting of corn is at the slowest pace in recent history.
Number 4, the Chipotle restaurant chain says the proposed tariffs on Mexican goods could force it to raise prices.
President Trump is threatening to impose a 5% penalty starting in a week. The tariffs would increase if Mexico fails to do more to stop migrants from flowing into the U.S. Chipotle imports avocados and other produce from Mexico. And finally, number 5, the streak is over.
Yeah, Jeopardy James lost last night on his 33rd game of Jeopardy. He heads home with nearly $2.5 million in prize money, though. That's nearly a record.
So who beat him? Her name is Emma Betcher. She's a librarian who's a big fan of the show and keeps track of her scores in a notebook.
She was an English major, and her undergraduate thesis was on Shakespeare, so maybe it was meant to be when the final Jeopardy category was Shakespeare's time.
Meant to be, and the streak for Jeopardy James is over.
That's too bad.
Jeopardy James, his run is done.
It's tragic.
It is.
You know, but all good things
must come to an end. Yep, we'll get to all that a little bit later, but...
Yeah, but first we'll get to today's big story, President Trump and his state visit to the UK.
He's meeting today with the Prime Minister after getting showered with royal hospitality. The president capped off a day of pageantry side by side with the Queen at a lavish state banquet in his honor, but today protesters are vowing to turn out in large numbers.
ABC's Julia McFarlane has the latest from London. Good morning, Julia.
Good morning, Will. Good morning, Janae. Yes, yesterday saw that first day of President Trump's state visit to the UK with a full roster of royal events at Buckingham Palace, all culminating in that grand opulent state banquet where he gave a toast to the Queen, and the Queen has some very warm words to say about that British-American relationship. But today it's all about business. President Trump is currently meeting with Theresa May in bilateral talks at number 10 Downing Street. That's the Brits' version of the White House. It started off this morning with a business roundtable where business delegations from both sides discussed shop and business and hopefully that coveted trade deal that the Brits are really, really keen to get sewn up because, of course, they are withdrawing from the EU and they need America and President Trump more than ever. Later on in the day, we're going to have a press conference where President Trump and Theresa May are going to give short, brief statements on how the trip's gone so far and the things that they've discussed. And then some more events for President Trump. He's going to get a tour of the Churchill war rooms. Those are the underground rooms out underneath the Cabinet Office where Churchill did a lot of his wargaming during the Second World War. Churchill, of course, a sort of big fascination to President Trump. And then the evening is going to end with a dinner at the U.S. ambassador's residence. Prince Charles and Camilla will be hosting before going to their final evening before going to Portsmouth tomorrow for those D-Day celebrations. We'll bring you all the rest. Janae, Will?
Our thanks to Julia, and we'll bring you that joint press conference with President Trump and Prime Minister Theresa May right here on ABC News Live in just a little bit.
The House Judiciary Committee plans to hold a hearing on the Mueller report next Monday featuring John Dean, President Nixon's former White House counsel. Democrats are still hoping to bring Robert Mueller in to testify, but given his resistance, they're turning to legal experts and former U.S. attorneys to examine the findings of the Russia investigation laid out in the Mueller report.
There are disturbing new details in the disappearance of a Connecticut mother of 5. Warrants show that police believe Jennifer Dulos was assaulted at her estranged husband's home. Items soaked in her blood were found in local trash cans. Fotis Dulos and his girlfriend face evidence-related charges. He's being held on a $500,000 bond. She paid hers and was released.
Now to a data breach affecting one of the biggest blood testing labs in the country. Quest Diagnostics confirms the personal information of nearly 12 million patients may have been exposed. Quest says one of its bill collection vendors was targeted and hackers had access to that company's system for more than 7 months, potentially compromising credit card numbers, bank accounts, and medical information. And a math teacher in Colorado has given a real lifeline to one of his students.
This is a good story. 7th grader Damien is a foster child, and he's also in need of a kidney transplant. However, his volatile living situation meant he wasn't eligible for a new one. So his math teacher, Finn Lanning, stepped up, and he's in the process of adopting Damien to give the 13-year-old a new chance at life.
Over the course of the years, I ended up in foster homes because of my medical needs.
When you're living in the hospital, you're not able to be on the transplant list because folks who don't have stable housing are considered high risk for their organ to not work.
Well, now Damien is at the top of the transplant list. A kidney actually became available last week, but it turned out it was damaged. But a GoFundMe account has been set up to cover the surgery when it happens, and we are pulling for these two great people.
Absolutely.
Faith in humanity restored, right?
Completely. This teacher, amazing that he stepped up to in the process to adopt his student. Yeah, well, it seems as if nowhere is safe from this spring's extreme weather.
A Long Island man was struck by lightning just 35 miles east of here. Could have been you or me, Janae. The 29-year-old was standing on his front porch during a thunderstorm.
I'll tell you what, Will, it could not have been me. This guy said he wanted a better view of the storm, and he got it. Luckily, that lightning strike was not a direct hit.
You know, I saw it hit the tree, and I turned fast enough to where it hit me in the shoulder, and it literally picked me up and threw me against the house. And I literally collapsed right here, and, you know, as ridiculous as it is, was limply throwing myself at the door to get somebody's attention.
The man was treated at a local hospital and released, and then immediately bought 2 lottery tickets.
Because, I mean, if you're going to get struck by lightning, you'll probably win the lottery next.
I guess so, yeah. I mean,
Odds
you know he's not going to get
favor.
struck by lightning again.
Right.
Because it doesn't strike twice, same place.
Yeah.
New DNA evidence could prove that the Loch Ness Monster is real.
We had no doubts, though. Researchers have examined genetic material found in the Scottish lake. They say if Nessie is real, it would have left some DNA on Loch Ness's current creatures. The scientists are testing a number of theories about the elusive monster, including that it's a dinosaur that survived extinction 66 million years ago. They're already calling some of the results surprising.
I have my doubts. Coming up, the historic antitrust probe that's targeting big tech.
Facebook, Google, Amazon, and more are under scrutiny. We'll have the details after this. Welcome back. Stocks in major tech companies like Facebook and Google are down this morning after word that lawmakers in Washington are launching a sweeping and historic antitrust investigation. The big question, are these big tech companies too big? Also, what can be done and how will it affect all of us who use their products? ABC's Serena Marshall is taking a closer look. Serena, good morning.
Janae, good morning. Now, both Republicans and Democrats are backing this House probe, a rare moment of bipartisanship. And this comes as the Trump administration launches an investigation of their own.
Big tech facing big scrutiny in Washington. The House announcing a sweeping antitrust probe with Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple in the crosshairs. Speaker Pelosi tweeting, "Unwarranted concentrated economic power in the hands of a few is dangerous to democracy. The era of self-regulation is over." The House Judiciary promising a top-to-bottom review that could lead to a major overhaul of antitrust regulations. Many of those laws written before Silicon Valley as we know it even existed. The scrutiny not just from Congress, but Democrats running for president and the president himself. In the past, he's accused the companies, without evidence, of suppressing voices.
So I think that Google and Twitter and Facebook They're really treading on very, very troubled territory.
And questioned if it's an antitrust situation. Senator Elizabeth Warren putting up this billboard, encouraging voters to get behind her effort to break up big tech.
But you don't get to be the umpire and have a team in the game.
But not everyone backs the move.
But I don't think that a president should be running around pointing at companies and saying breaking them up without any kind of process here.
The House investigation, as the Wall Street Journal reports, the Justice Department and the FTC is gearing up for an antitrust investigation of their own, examining Google's internal practices and search rankings.
Antitrust cases, though, can take years to settle. The investigation into Microsoft lasting for a decade, while the 1970s case into AT&T lasted around 8 years. So there's a good chance this will go far beyond the 2020 presidential election. Janae, Will.
And we will be watching. Serena, thank you. Now let's get a check of our notifications, starting with this unwelcome visitor at a picnic in Florida. A couple wanted to have this romantic getaway before the boyfriend headed off to the Marines, but an alligator showed up, ate a whole block of cheese, a whole bowl of guacamole, and then just went on his way.
That's just rude.
Very rude.
How dare that alligator? And a teenager who was dumped just before prom, which is tough. That's tough. He reached out on social media for help, and look who answered the call here. Steelers wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster. They rocked matching tuxes.
Oh.
Is that velour, velvet, some other material I'm unfamiliar with?
Something.
It's very well done. And clearly this kid was the star of the prom, and I'm sure he'll have a new date if he wants one in no time.
Bet they had a ton of fun. How about this creative proposal? A Georgia man popped the question to his girlfriend underwater. If you're looking for the top way to lose a ring during a proposal, this is it.
Yeah, and they couldn't
He didn't, though.
He didn't, and that's barely a kiss.
Right.
And she's screaming. You can hear she's very excited. It's a little treasure chest.
Yeah.
I like that. It's too bad, though, that they couldn't kiss underwater. Speaking of kissing, officials are warning people in Austria not to kiss cows. I didn't know that was a warning that needed to be issued. But there's this internet challenge that's going viral.
Ugh.
That looks like the type of person who would kiss a cow. I'm sorry if that's not appropriate, but...
I mean, you know what? I do have to say, okay, see, videos like this are appalling, but do you drink milk?
I do.
Do you drink cow's milk? Is that really any worse?
Oh, come on. I was just about to go refill my coffee, too.
Speaking of something to eat with that cup of milk, this morning, the graduation party was left confused after they cut into cake, and it was styrofoam. It was frosted and everything. Walmart says they're sorry, and they're offering that mom a new cake, but she is saying, no, thank you. How?
What?
Why?
I would have claimed that it was like astronaut ice cream, because that kind of looks
crazy,
like styrofoam. That is a really minimal effort done by whoever made that fake cake.
Shame.
Yeah. So let's get some adrenaline flowing though here this morning. We'll wake up. Let's watch this between our fingers as we cover our eyes in terror. Night skiing on the narrowest,
sounds like a bad idea.
Iciest, twistiest, curviest course. Lit. Oh my God! Underneath.
But he's so impressive.
Like a bridge.
So
impressive. Let's go over some fire. Is that fire we're gonna?
Yep. Watch out. There we go.
All right.
Well,
he sounds very excited, and since the video got out, I assume that all's well that ends well.
Yeah, guess so.
Yeah.
Well, coming up, it's the final Jeopardy for James Holzhauer.
Yeah, we'll take a look at his historic run and the woman who finally took him down after this.
Welcome back. A high school senior in Texas thinks he solved a problem plaguing football.
He's created a helmet that may change the way concussions are detected. Here's Madeline Dart from our station in Corpus Christi.
Adrian Alamillo was supposed to fail. He says his upbringing didn't set him up for success, bouncing around foster homes since he was 10 years old.
I have not always had the family support and the circle that everyone else around me seems to have.
Usually the students I see that are in his situation end up being dropouts.
Yet here he is, graduating early at 17 years old.
I was told that I would not even see the age of 15, I've been told that I would be locked up for the rest of my life.
Adrian started playing football for King High School, but dozens of hard hits later, he developed pediatric epilepsy. His football career was over.
This was a family for me. This is like basically everything. At that point, that was the only thing I had, and it was just taken away from me.
His neurologist told him the condition likely developed from an undetected concussion, so he decided to create this, a helmet with the ability to alert a player that he or she may have a head injury.
I modified my prototype to where once it's hit with about 85 to 90 G's of force, the paintball would explode.
With the help of teachers like Tammy Ladner, Alamillo took his prototype to the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair.
Very proud of him and just really surprised and taken aback. The kid I met last year would not have thought globally. So I see great things for him because he has that drive.
In the fall, Adrian will be a freshman at Texas Tech University with plans to become an anesthesiologist while working on the helmet and inspiring others to overcome adversity.
Keep on pushing through, keep that perseverance that storms are only temporary.
Madeline Dart, 3 News.
Well, that was a great one. Here's what to watch out for today. Vice President Pence heads to Oklahoma today to visit flood damage from the Arkansas River. The river is slowly cresting, and major flooding is expected to subdue within a few weeks.
On Capitol Hill, the House Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Subcommittee holds a hearing on the federal response to confront white supremacy that will examine the efforts of the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security to combat white supremacist extremist violence. And a rally will commemorate the 30th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre, when the Chinese military cracked down on student protesters, firing into the crowds and running people over with vehicles. China censors all references to the incident online, even references as vague as May 35th or emojis of a tank next to a man are deleted from China's domestic internet.
Plus, don't forget to tune into the debrief for an update on all our top stories, and the briefing room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics. Well, it was the final Jeopardy for James Holzhauer.
After more than 6 weeks worth of shows, that winning streak is over. But the man they call Jeopardy James has more than 2.4 million reasons to be happy. And we are joined by ABC's Will Gantz with a look at the streak. Hey, Will.
I don't have 2.4 million reasons to be happy today, but I have 2.
Oh,
fair enough.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ken Jennings can rest easy this morning because his record is safe. Jeopardy James finally losing after 32 games. Here's how his historic run came to an end.
Either the show was going to run out of money or Jeopardy James was going to lose. Last night, we got our answer. This 27-year-old librarian just defeated James Holzhauer to end his 32-game winning streak. Who is Emma Boettcher?
What are Lucky Charms?
Yes. Closest it's been in a while.
James going into Final Jeopardy a few $1,000s behind Boettcher. The category Shakespeare's time, proving that for James, it was not to be. James's answer? Correct. But his wager not enough to take down Emma, who wrote her thesis at Princeton about Shakespeare's plays. And James walking away from the show with no all-time winnings record.
2 dimes, please. All right.
$58,000 behind Ken Jennings. James tweeting to him, "You win this round, but if Jeopardy ever gives me 43 second chance games, look out." But James did walk away with $2,462,216. That's an average of $77,000 per game, answering correctly 97% of the time, holding the top 15 daily money totals. James congratulating new champ Emma with a high five and wishing her well, tweeting, "Congratulations to Emma on a world-beating performance. There's no greater honor than knowing an opponent had to play a perfect game to defeat me." Ending his Jeopardy run with this sentimental moment, a get-well card from his daughter to host Alex Trebek.
That was very sweet of her. Thank you.
One more reason to remember Jeopardy James and his historic run on the show.
For that entire last episode, all 3 contestants only missed 1 question total between the 3 of them. And don't worry, if you're a big fan of Jeopardy James, he'll be back for the next edition of Jeopardy's Tournament of Champions. So we'll get to see him do this move a few more times, hopefully.
All in.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. All
Cannot
in.
believe that he was so close to the record and didn't make it.
Yeah, he was a machine, but I guess all machines malfunction at some point, right?
I guess. And I mean, that last wager, it was so small. You know, the conspiracy theorists are going to have a field day with this one.
Oh, they already are.
Yep.
Just hop on Twitter right now.
Right, there it is. But that brings us to our question of the day. How far do you think Emma will go? How many games do you think she'll win? How much money? I mean, could this go on for another 6 weeks?
That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
We'll see.
She needs to come up with her signature
And
move.
we have to find a good name for Emma. She's got to win some more games.
Emerging Emma.
There it is.
Ooh.
There it is. Emma, that's for you. Tweet us your answer at ABC News Live or post in the comments, and we'll see just what you have to say. But that's it for us today. Have a good one.
Got the sweater on.
Ooh.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.